But difficult times made worse by the fear of an invisible deadly enemy who strikes via the very air we breathe. The coronavirus pandemic could have a profound effect on people's mental health now and in the future. That's according to psychiatrists and psychologists who are calling for urgent research. Obviously, increased social isolation, loneliness, health anxiety, stress, and economic downturn are a perfect storm to harm people's mental health and well-being. That also said by Professor Rory O'Connor, one who's an author and also with the University of Glasgow. So today here on our show, we want to talk about coping with stress. We know that it will make you, the people you care about, and your community much stronger. Our doctor on call this morning is Dr. Ruth Owusu-Entry, who heads the psychiatry unit of the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. So our hashtag is Ask the AM Doctor. She's also the Vice President of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana. Doc, it's good to have you on the show again today. Thank you for accepting our call and being our doctor on call this morning.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, I guess we have to work on that sound because I didn't hear what Doc said. Hello, Doc, can you try again?
Hi.
Okay, it looks like we have to work on that sound real quick.
Good morning.
Oh,
is it better?
It is better. Good to hear you. So we want to talk about, have I put it right, the fact that everything that we're going through also breeds fear, worry, anxiety in general? Hello, Doc? Oh, okay, I guess we still have to do a little bit of work. Technology. You can't always be in control of it. It's 23 minutes after 7 here on the AM show. The segment that we're dealing with now is Ask the AM Doctor. It's a Thursday, and on Thursdays we have Healthy Thursday conversations. One of the things that we're faced with, one of the very difficult challenges, of course, with the different things happening today to different persons, we're having to go through a lot of stress. There's a lot of worry. There's also a lot of fear. If you look at the numbers that we're recording even in Ghana, you wake up, last night people didn't know that we had an increment in our numbers, for instance. So you wake up and you hear, oh, we've crossed 3,000. And you get to worry a lot more. If you engage children as well, you realize that they also have a lot of fear. My children say if we were to go to school, they were to say, oh, let's go to school tomorrow. I won't go. Mommy, I'm not going because coronavirus is out there. That's the belief, that's the thinking even for little children, some little children. So how do we do it? How do parents counsel and help children who may be really scared about what is happening? That's the conversation that we're having with our doctor on call this morning. I ask you to join us with your WhatsApp messages, with your text messages, and then we'll also activate the phone lines. She's Dr. Ruth Owusu-Entry. He heads the psychiatry units of the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. That's the conversation. We'll take a breather. We will come back. Okay, looks like we have to try and see if Dr. Owusu-Entry can hear us right and we can have a conversation. Good morning, Doc, again. Hello, Doc. Hello, Doc. Good morning. All right, I'm not sure this is working quite right. We will come back. Hopefully, we'll get to resolve that and begin the conversation. Stay with us. All right, so how will stress exhibit itself in a period like this? If you're going through anxiety, if you have worries, if you have fears because of what we're all faced with in our country today, kindly give me a call. You can join me 0302211691, or you can send me WhatsApp messages. We'll also put a post on Facebook. We're going to check out the comments on that Facebook post now. But we also have our doctor joining us. Hello, Doc. Good morning.
Good morning, Mama V. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me now?
I can. Somebody wanted to take you away from us, but thank God we have you back. So maybe you can just address the question that I just posed. How will stress exhibit itself now? People complain about not sleeping well, even though they have a lot of time these days. Could it be because they are stressed?
Yeah, you are right on that, Mama V. Stress generally is a move from your usual self. And that move would exhibit in several ways. For instance, there could be a change in sleep pattern, and this change could be excessive sleep or reduced sleep. There could be change in appetite. This can translate into excessive eating or increased appetite. People keep popping their heads into their fridge and checking on what they can nib on the next time they want to eat. It's not really that they are hungry, but the stress around is just pushing them into that habit. And again, the change in the eating habit can reflect as reduced appetite. There are other emotional changes that can occur in the sense that people become irritable, and people can cry for no apparent reason. People get angry, like I've already said, at the least provocation. And there is a sense of anxiety. People are always on the edge, can't feel relaxed. They are always scared about what next is happening. Some of these things show that we are experiencing stress from the pandemic.
How about the children? I mean, are they going through the same thing that adults are also going through?
It's amazing that in all of this, we seem to have left the children out of the conversation. Probably because we are not getting a lot of children dying, and probably those who even get the infection have just very mild forms. But children have been heavily affected mentally, emotionally, psychologically by this pandemic. You know, the psychological maturity and emotional development of children is carved by structures and into the society, how to develop psychologically and emotionally when there are sets of rules and regulations, when there are structures, there are timetable, their day is structured. So they know they wake up in the morning, they have to brush their teeth, they have to go to at this time, they come back home, they do their homework, bedtime is specifically at this time and all that. But with this pandemic, all of that structure seem to have been thrown overboard. And that is heavily affecting children. Some of them are being overly exposed to long screen time. They sit behind whatever electrical gadgets they and by their screen time is also increasing. Parents are not at home, parents are working, but schools are still closed down. And so that supervision that would have happened whilst parents are at work, thinking that their kids will be at school, and now it's not there. But if there were anybody or perpetrators of child abuse at this time, this will be their season to carry out their evil deeds. And so children are being affected psychologically as well. They have not been left out of the anxiety also. They hear probably nobody is communicating to them or with them about they should not be afraid, etc. And so the anxiety that adults are experiencing, they are equally experiencing it. They may not have the benefit of social media, checking up on friends or Facebook, and so they miss their friends at school. There's no opportunity to interact with them. And somebody told me that for the past about 5-6 weeks, my kids have been indoors, and that is absolutely dangerous. And so generally and largely, kids have been greatly affected as well.
So how do we even begin a certain conversation with them? I mean, you close from work, you go home, they're happy to see you. They're not talking about coronavirus. It's just, oh, what did you eat? What have you boys been doing? Should there be more beyond these basic questions?
Certainly. We should take an opportunity to ask them what they have heard about coronavirus or COVID-19 in the course of the day. It would amaze you that whilst you think that they may be on their electrical gadgets playing games or watching their cartoons and etc., they would have a peep at what is going on in terms of the pandemic. They are as interested as adults. And so you can start off the conversation with, so what's in the news? I have been at work all day. What have you guys heard? And then they can they said so and so number of people have died. Wow, it was this number yesterday or last week, and today it is like this. That would be a very good point of starting a conversation with them, letting them know that yes, so and so number of people have died, but this is the number of people that have also recovered, and that many of the patients we are having in the country are mild cases being managed at home in isolation, and they are very stable. That reassures them. Again, children become more secured and confident when they know that, oh, the situation is under control, in terms of the fact that there are preventive measures that you can take to stay safe. And once they know what to stay safe, they become empowered about the whole pandemic, about themselves, about their security. They become empowered as well. And so let us not be concerned or be afraid to start a COVID conversation with these kids. And of course, find out whether in your absence they have done their e-learning, they have done the chores you left for them. Give them an opportunity to link up with their friends, phone their friends for them, or do a video call for them to get in touch with their friends. And that should be really helpful.
We're beginning to also have little school conversations. My children, for instance, say corona is out there, so they won't go to school. If, you know, it happens that school is back, I'm not sure if it is the next week or two. How do you, because corona isn't gone, how do you deal with the fact that they know there's a certain virus still out there and you're asking them to go out?
So exactly what I was saying, maybe my kids have also expressed the same sentiments about having to go back to school. Hey, are we all going to be in masks? How do we even sit in the classroom now, etc. So these are genuine questions. But again, you can't empower them by telling them that, well, there are a set of preventive measures, infection preventive measures that have been put in place worldwide. And if they are able to stick by it, they should be fine. And of course, if there are any new measures and new information that come up, they will be told. And so that constant reassurance, keep washing your hands, use your hand sanitizer. I'll give everybody a hand sanitizer when you have to go to school. If they say come back to school in a nose mask, I'm going to make sure I provide it for you. Just make sure that you keep washing your hands, etc. If you are sneezing, sneeze into a tissue and put it in the dustbin immediately. So when we empower them with some of these set rules and regulations, the fear and anxiety about going back to school, or even going out of the house, is greatly lessened.
I want to invite our viewers into this conversation because we said ask the psychiatrist, right? So it's your turn now to give us a call and ask her what you want to ask in relation to this conversation. Very soon we will also bring you messages on Facebook as well. Before our viewers begin to call us on 0302-211-69-102. Doc, I want to ask, because I understand people whose loved ones have died as a result of the disease aren't given access to the bodies.
That is right. I am not a pathologist, but I am privy to that information that the body may not be given to you. There are processes with which the health system would handle the body by themselves. But there could be opportunity for people to maybe view for the last time very close people like a spouse or a child, view the body of their deceased loved one at a distance and in the appropriate PPEs. But of course, the usual thing of the dead or the departed being laid in state, filing past, paying last respect is not advisable now and cannot be done. And indeed, that all adds to the pain and the stress. Some people are unable to get closure with their departed loved ones because they were not around, they did not have the opportunity to pay last respect or file past the dead body or see the person in the last days. Indeed, most of the people that have passed on have been at ICUs where relatives are not even allowed in already. So you realize that even prior to the passing of their loved ones, there's been a cut-off for 2 weeks or even more. They could have been communicating on phone, etc., but there could have been that physical cut-off, and all of that can be very, very traumatizing and difficult. It elongates the grieving period, it elongates the anxiety and the stress, and it makes closure even more difficult.
Let's speak to Robert. Robert is in Kanishi. Uncle Rob, good morning, you're on air. Hello?
Hello, Mavi, how are you?
Very well, thank you, sir. I hope you're doing well too.
Yeah, I am.
Nice, good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Our doc is on.
Two things. One is that, yes, for assurance to our children is very important. And something that I've been doing a lot, talking to them about. In fact, they sometimes come and then they give me a report. Hey, now it's 2,000, now it's 2,400, and those things. But they always also look at the recovery rate as well. They'll tell me out 2,000, and then they'll do the calculation and tell me out. So this is the percentage that, in fact, this morning they were calculating the number of, the recovery up to the effective rate, and they are telling me that it's around 9.something%. So they are concerned. However, the movie, is it realistic to open the school now? Because for the children are children, especially the preschool, KG, and those things, are they going to wear masks from morning to afternoon? So in opening the school now, I think that we should take a second look at it. Let's wait. I think for me, they should wait until the thing is, we see that it is there before we can open the school.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That's my take.
All right, I'll have our psychiatrists also have a say on that. But let's go to Glenn. Glenn is in Somanya. Hello, Glenn. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Yes, Glenn. Thanks for calling. You on air. Let's hear you.
Okay. My problem is that some of the children are really suffering in the community.
When you say they're really suffering, what does it mean? Break it down.
Some of the parents, some of them are living with their aunties, some of them are living with their grandmas, and they are really using the children. Like, it's so painful. The other time, in my community like this, some of the children are not, like how you were talking about this e-learning and all that. They are sent into the market to sell. They are sent into the market to sell, and these children are misused. They use them so bad, and I feel like they should do something. The government should do something about it, or put anything to just help these children. You understand?
Okay. All right. I do understand your concern. Thank you very much. Alam is in Agriza. Good morning to you, Alam.
Good morning, madam.
Yes, sir. You're on air. Let's hear you.
Yes, I actually am inspired by the doctor, what she's saying. Yes, but then the children who do not have access to television, especially the remote areas, I think it will be very great, laudable if education is done to cover those less endowed children. My children, they are very young, 6 and 4. But they have actually taking the song of the coronavirus, especially Joy News program. They have, anytime they see my finger or my wife's finger going towards the face, they say, no, don't touch coronavirus. It has become their song.
So they like the updates. They want to watch news related to it.
Yes, they want news related to it. But then my concern here is that is those who have access. But then those who haven't access to television, and then yes. So if there could be a way that those children in the villages can also get to know much about it, and then it will be very helpful.
All right, thank you very much.
But then thank you to Joy News. We have been following you, and then you are doing a fantastic job. Keep it up, and then we are very happy to get
we thank you.
Following you, yes.
All right, we thank you for being on the other side and supporting us by watching. Thank you. Let's hear from Bridget. Bridget is in Sogakofa. Bridget, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mama V.
Yes, Bridget.
Thank you very much for all the work you are doing.
Thank you for the support.
Please, with all this going on, I have a problem with the curriculum.
Okay.
I teach in a basic school where it's a public school here. And since the time this new curriculum has been put into place, we don't have the materials to teach with. And we now have this issue of let's open the schools. The problem is when we go back to the schools, what are we even going to use in teaching? Some private schools have some materials which they got on their own, they are managing. What about the public schools? You go to the classroom and you are like, how do I start this? Where do I end? The children are looking at you thinking of how to go about this topic.
Okay.
So for me, instead of just pushing that we should open the schools back, let's go back to school, we should rather focus on getting the materials that we'll be using when we have to go back to school.
Okay, thank you very much.
To me,
it's interesting. We're talking about the psychological aspects of what we're going through, but there are real issues also beneath. Hudu is in Western North. After Hudu, we'll let our doctor address some of the concerns. So Hudu, good morning. Hello, Hudu.
Yes, hello.
Are you going through any form of stress because of what we're dealing with as a nation?
Yes.
Okay, Hudu, I see the problem. Kindly turn down the volume on that television set, okay? So you can speak through the phone.
I'm just impressed about what is going on the television.
Okay, so what comments?
You should keep it up.
All right.
But there is already a decline in the hand washing and the sanitizing.
There's a decline. Where?
There's a decline. Other people now, they are not taking the condition serious. They see some even express suspicion that it's not true. The disease is not there. Meanwhile, the disease is also among us. So it's good we enlighten the general public about it to prevent the spread of the condition as well.
Okay.
Because now the hand washing and the sanitizing and the social distancing is not up to expectation. So it's good we do public education more in order to achieve our aim.
But I'm wondering how you came to that conclusion. Is it a specific situation you've witnessed?
Sometimes I have friends and colleagues as well. When you call them, some of them they spread false information that they don't have any clear evidence, but they open their mouths and they spoil the information. They say the condition is not there, what and what. So that's just the only thing I want to
Okay, all right. That's very important. So thank you for sharing, Hudu. Doc, you've been listening to some of the concerns that have come through. It looks like because we talked about children, there's a bit of education in there. Are all these things coming out because, again, this is mental, we all have a certain fear, even though we will not quickly link it psychologically? Is there something beneath?
So there seem to be some of the issues that were existent before COVID-19. I remember one saying that children in the village are sent to go and sell, those who are living with their grandparents, etc. And these are things which we can refer to as child labor, and were there even before this pandemic. But I can figure out that they could be worsened even in this era or in these difficult times, because economically everybody is going down, and if there are kids or a home all the time that you have to feed, then all hands must be on deck. And so probably a younger one who previously would not be sent to go and sell in the market would now have to join the older siblings carrying stuff to go and sell. So I figure out that these already existing problems would aggravate even in this pandemic. There was another person who touched on the curricula which existed even before this pandemic. I am sure that we all appreciate that these are not normal times, and you would not have things as normal as we had it prior to this pandemic. All our education, psychologically and mentally, is geared towards having our lives as close to normal or as close to pre-pandemic era as possible. And so if children cannot go back to school and sit in class and be taking one after the other through their curriculum, and in fact being offered the opportunity to pick up weaker students and give them more attention and all that, we cannot sit down with our hands folded and throw our hands in despair. We still must do something to get our lives close as normal as possible. And so if we have to adopt to e-learning strategies, and we really have to, just so that children can have a mimic or a mimicry of what their lives prior to this pandemic was. There was one school that said that when they do e-learning, the kids must be in their school uniform, and many parents did not understand this. I tell them this is one of the very good decisions some of these schools can take, that even if they have to meet on any e-platform for learning, the children must appear in their school uniform. That instill discipline and allow children to attach the importance that there is to their studies. And again, it gives them a close picture of what would have happened in reality. And so we are definitely in difficult times, and so everybody must keep their lives and their lifestyles to fit the difficult times in which we are in. Somebody also brought up the issue of children who may not have access to internet and may be left out of all of this. I have engaged some children in more rural areas by asking them about what they have heard about the infection prevention control measures, and I tell them, can you just draw this information, put this information into drawing one day at a time? So imagine and draw what it means to keep a social distancing, what it means to wash your hands regularly. And children are very imaginative, and this will be a very good task for them to do the whole day. Let it look like even a competition among the siblings and see who gives the best picture by the end of the day. And these are all little things we can use to engage the children. And when it comes to their e-learning, they may not benefit directly, but parents can still contact their teachers via phone call, voice, means of voice phone calls, and get some assignments for these children to do so that they are not entirely left out.
Okay, there's a question. Oscar is asking, Oscar says, my son asked me that now that current curriculum is based on group sitting, how are they going to sit to observe social distancing? That is his worry, and this is Oscar sending us this message. There are a lot of questions on education. This one says, in fact, I don't see schools reopening anytime soon because of the alarming rate at which the disease increases. An attempt to reopen schools will simply predispose our kids to the deadly disease. Gariba Musa in Gambaga also making this point. There's another one also having to do with education, but somebody also asking why the numbers are going up. And I particularly also want to ask you this, because ordinarily, and we've talked about this several times, like the technical words and descriptions that the experts give to the numbers and the cases, to the very ordinary person, it doesn't seem to go down well, because we see the numbers going up. Like, you wake up today and we've crossed 3,000. Are we, as ordinary people, going through our own mental issues? Is something blocking us from simply understanding the science?
That's an interesting question, Mama V. Many of us are not science-oriented, so it's understandable that we don't understand the science behind all of this. All we know is figures, and that is what we can deal with. So, understandably so. And indeed, when our sense of judgment is clouded by anxiety, we fail and refuse to even see the signs that are being explained to us, even by the experts. And so, yes, already there is an underlying anxiety, and because of that, when somebody comes to explain, it's almost as if, well, I can't take it. I mean, clearly numbers are going up. They are doing percentages, they are doing rates. Our death rate is still below 1%. When you look at other countries, they are 6%, 15%, etc. And so I have said before that let us believe in the system. Not everybody is a scientist. Not everybody is a researcher. Not everybody is a public health expert or a mental health expert. And so if experts in these specific areas come and they tell you that what our figures, even though our figures are going up, they mean A, B, C, D. Can we just trust in the system? Can we put our anxiety aside and just trust the system? And this will be for our own good. And for our own mental health as well. I got somebody also asking, when you were talking, Mama V, about how children will be seated in the classroom if they have to go. I am not sure when schools should open. I may not be able to speak to that, but I know that this pandemic may stay with us for the next 2 years or more. Are schools going to be closed down for the next 2 years? If your child is in class 3, and we have to stay home, or they have to stay home for the next 2 years, when schools reopen, are they still in class 3 or they have jumped to class 5? I mean, our lives must go on. One of my senior colleagues, Dr. Ohene, recently said, everybody should begin to embrace the new normal. COVID is here with us. We better plan our lives around it, because it may take some while before it finally leaves the system. And so, if children have to go to school, which I'm not an expert to speak to that, but if they have to go to school, I am sure that all the necessary infection control measures will be put in place. They may have to be seated like in the exams hall all the time when chairs are separated and all that. But hey, if you need to cut down on the anxiety of your child, you, the adult, must work on your anxiety first. And so parents, adults, let us make sure that we have our anxieties under control so that we can effectively communicate with our kids, even in this era. And there are several things as adults we can do. Just distracting yourself, and just go for a walk, of course, with your mask. Put up what we call a gratitude journal. Just on a daily basis, list at least 3 things that you are grateful to God for, 3 things that is happening in your life that you think that is a positive thing. And that gratitude seems to be difficult to exist with anxiety. It seems that whenever there is gratitude or you are grateful to God for something, it's almost impossible for gratitude to coexist with anxiety. So on a daily basis, sit down, ponder about 3 things that you can be grateful for. We call that gratitude journal. And that would also help cutting down on our anxiety. Distract yourself, check in with friends. It's been found out that connecting with friends via phone or voice or video is more effective than emails or text messaging. And so let us connect meaningfully with loved ones, with close friends. Watch a movie together, and together can be done even virtually. You are in your home, I'm in my home. On a weekend, we are watching a movie and discussing on WhatsApp group page or on a social media platform. And that brings us to a close to physical connection as much as possible. So across age groups, we need to check our anxiety level. And don't let us forget our elderly. There's been advice that because they are more prone to more severe aspects of this illness, they should stay out as much as possible of public domain. They should cut down on the number of visitors that come to see them. And remember, the elderly group are already isolated. Most of them are retired, some of them are bereaved because of their spousal death, etc. Or some of them even have disabilities that have caused them to become lonely. And with the extra measures of social distancing, and with them even an added caution that they should cut down on visitors, their loneliness is likely to be deepened. And so we should not forget our elderly. We should check up on them by whatever means we can. Phone calls, video calls, if we can visit them and keep our social distancing, that would be good. Let them know that you are there to support. If you can do their groceries for them without coming into close proximity or contact with them, they should be very grateful for that. And so across all age groups, children, middle age, elderly, we should not leave anybody else in this pandemic. We should remember to consider and take care of each body's mental health.
All right, let's go to Facebook. We've got some questions for you there. So let's begin to share what is on Facebook. Here we go. Kojo Evans says, is there any way virologists can investigate how new viruses come about naturally, and how do they come about occurrences? Okay, this is a virology question. Let's move to the next one. These are comments on Facebook. Kinsley says, please let psychiatrists explain how to reach a peak. Okay, this is a very tricky one. You're very smart. Thanks for the question. Let's see if we can also trick our psychiatrists to attempt to explain that. Dinah says, we never had new confirmed cases without new recoveries. My point is, why is that anytime the number of confirmed cases increase, new recoveries are made? Okay, is that a psychological question? All right, let's see if we've got one more that we have to read. This one says, height is not expected in life for student doc, especially university student. How do you psychologically cope with this situation, though online studies are ongoing? And also for the trader affected by this pandemic, how do you not lose hope? Don Felick is asking that question. Doc, maybe we can start from, okay, it looks like we have one more, do we? Okay, can you open it up? This is the very last one. Let's see. This one says, can we just open it up a little bit? Should we panic looking at our numbers rising day in and day out? John J. Bedu is asking. Doc?
No, we should not panic. When the scientists explained to us, Ghana is one of the countries that is still doing well in terms of the control of this pandemic. And I would urge each and every one of us not to panic. In any case, if there was any cause to worry, panicking in itself will not reduce the numbers. I mean, panicking itself is not an antidote to the rising numbers or to any mortality rate. And so as much as it will not do any good to the rising numbers, it would also negatively impact on our mental health. And so no matter what the situation is, let us not panic. Let us try to stay as calm as possible. And I have said that staying calm can be difficult, but it's achievable. We can do what we call the breathing in and breathing out exercise. You can repeatedly take a deep breath and slowly breathe out just for about 3 minutes consistently anytime you feel anxious. I've talked about the gratitude journal. I've talked about distraction activities like just take a walk outside, just engage yourself in some physical activities. Just decide to bake. Go on YouTube and learn how to bake, or decide to do a major cleaning in your room, in your kitchen, in your bedroom, something to distract you. And of course, it's been said over and over again that our exposure to the numbers should should be balanced. I mean, people are consistently checking on websites, on the news, looking for numbers. I personally don't know remember the last time in this week that I checked on these numbers. And it is for our own good. Once in a while in the day, just allocate a short time that you would listen to news and update yourself with what is happening. But the constant following up with numbers in itself would be an activity that would increase our anxiety, and that should be avoided.
Okay. I think there was a question before this one whether or not we should panic. Patrick Gomez, can we bring
Somebody said on Facebook, somebody asked something on Facebook. I didn't get that.
Okay, Patrick Gomez, kindly bring us the last but one question that somebody asked. I think is really important on Facebook. Whilst he gets ready to bring us that on the screen, there's also another concern being shared on WhatsApp. It says, good morning, this is Selom. Okay, but before that, Don Felek, yes, was saying that even though the online studies are ongoing, for the trader affected by this pandemic, how do they not lose hope, Doc?
So remember, first of all, that this is a global issue. And so it is not just a trader at Abubloshi or a trader at KJT that is getting some economic downturn or making reduced sales now. And so when something is general, then the impact some way, somehow on individuals is minimized. And so keeping a mindset that, look, you are not in this alone. The trader in central London, in the United Kingdom, is experiencing the same thing. The person in the United States is experiencing the same thing. In Cote d'Ivoire or Nigeria is going through the same thing. So this is going to be a general global economic difficulty. And it's like when we are all set to zero being used figuratively, then we all can develop means to rise up together again. And so be assured that these difficulties are not just you alone. And so when decisions are taken at the national level to reverse some of these difficulties, it would include you, the government will think about you, globally, nations or global powers in economics will think about you. And for some time, everybody will be in difficulty. And the good thing is that it will not be you alone, it will be everybody. And so we would have each other to support and each other to lean on, and then gradually we will rise again.
We know there are people who are losing their jobs, unfortunately, and we've heard that there will be many more because there are companies that can't even survive and they can't even begin to think about paying salaries. If you find yourself in this bracket, how do you stop yourself from slipping into depression?
So usually when people are found doing nothing, when you are inactive, then your propensity of thinking excessively and worrying excessively, that will build up your stress hormones and likely lead to anxiety and depression would increase. And so immediately find something to do. There is mask business that is booming now. There is hand sanitizer business that is booming now. People are finding it difficult to even get hot meals, lunch meals to eat at appropriate places because they are worried about contracting the virus and all that. Immediately think about what next can you do. I have been taken out of my normal profession, but that is not the end of it. I still have my two hands, my feet. I still have life. I still have strength. What other business can I do? Can I quickly shift into something on my own? Is there a hobby that I can now quickly turn into a trade? These things will sort of give us a sense of security and will be able to probably bring in little income for us to keep sustaining ourselves. But at the end of the day, if you think that you are not finding where next to move into, talk to friends, talk to people. What else can I do? Is there any business opportunity? You know, when they say that a problem shared is half solved. And so when we talk in these times, then we are better able to get the right advice concerning our situation. So don't let us keep things within, by all means, this is the time to talk. People who are secretive at this time should open up. Whatever difficulty, take advice from people, and they may have other business opportunities to help keep us busy, so that we don't panic and become overly anxious. And if this is the time you can cultivate something small at your backyard, just grow cocoyam. Cocoyam will give you the cocoyam itself and give you contomere on top, so that money you would have used to go to the market and purchase some of these foodstuffs, you can just get at your backyard. You can easily plant pepper, some vegetables, and these are all things everybody must put in place to curb the economic downturn that we may experience soon because of this pandemic.
In ending the conversation, I would like to read this from Echo in Lashibi. Echo sends me two very important messages. One is that the level of stress is so high that it could degenerate into other sicknesses, especially the issue of job losses or non-payment of salaries is making things worse. And then he comes back to say children of today are fast learners, and so the psychological effect has had a toll on them as well. Just have a look at the video of this little girl educating people in the protocols, and I've seen a very cute little boy who's asking people to wash their hands. But any comments that you want to make on this, particularly the job losses leading to people developing sicknesses?
Yes, Mama, it is something that cannot be avoided. It is to be expected. Why should I still keep engaging you if I can no longer pay you or remit you? And especially those in the private sector are struggling in this area. I would say again that quickly find an alternative. I'm sure that many people are in this country who do not do one job, cardboard sales, and then they are still working in the bank. By the time they get to their office break time, they open their boots and I'm selling these shoes, I'm selling belts, I'm selling what. So people should begin to think about alternative things to do in these times. Otherwise, if you rely on just one source of income, then the difficulties may worsen. And so everybody should think about what next they can do. And it will be good to take advice from experts in this area. Just talk to people, and people will be able to give you ideas about what may be good or what business could be good to be run at this time. You cannot blame employers for laying people off around this time. It is normal, it is to be expected, it is not their fault, and people must accept. And if you are working in any company, in order to prevent yourself from being laid off, it will be a good opportunity to innovate other means to keep your company going, to keep your company running, so that the layoff does not affect you. Things are changing. So the usual previous time that people used to sit down, wait till the end of the month, do things normally, and their salaries are paid, are over. Everybody should bring hands on deck, should bring up innovative ways that their companies can be more sustainable, even in these days.
All right.
If that doesn't happen, move to another profession, another business, another something, business, money generating venture that will keep our finances going. All
right. Doc, we're very grateful for your time this morning. Thank you for addressing all the questions. That's head of psychiatry at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. Doctor on call this morning, Dr. Ruth Owusu-Entry, head of the psychiatry units of the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. Thank you all for sending your questions through. I'm still seeing lots of questions on education in terms of reopening and what's going to happen. So we have to find another time and deal with that situation with the appropriate resource persons. But thank you for joining us on this conversation.